What is going on YouTube? So I made a previous video on a quick rundown on removing the AX-15 out of my 1993 Jeep Wrangler YJ. So I have some additional parts that I was waiting on to completely convert my internal slave cylinder AX-15 into a external setup. And basically, here's some of the parts that are required to make this conversion happen. So I have the Throwout bearing retainer. This kind of slides over your input shaft on the transmission. The internal slave cylinder one is set up different. It doesn't have the sleeve, so there's no way the Throwout bearing can ride on the input shaft. And then I have a national bearing. Here's the part number. Throwout bearing, and this one is fully metal. They say the OEM ones are plastic, so that's kind of how that's going to work. It just slides over that. And this is the new slave cylinder. This one's the external, so all of your hydraulics are going to be external: master, clutch line, and your slave. And this is plastic, unfortunately. But I had bad luck with this brand, Luck, however that's pronounced. The original, well, I wouldn't say original, but the brand new Luck internal slave cylinder that I put in my Jeep blew a line almost immediately when I was bleeding it. So I had to pull the whole transmission out, and that was pretty disappointing. I'll put this Throwout bearing back in the box. Oh, and all of these parts here, they are brand new, but the bell housing and the clutch fork I sourced used. I got them off of eBay, a vendor by the name of Dead Jeep. So this is the clutch fork pivot ball retaining clip. So I'm gonna show you guys the external bell housing now. I have it sitting over here. The clutch fork is already inside of it. So your pivot ball, mine came with one. So I'm gonna put some grease on it, get that situated, figure out how to mount this clip up, and then Throwout bearing. Gonna ride on this. You have those retaining clips that's on the Throwout bearing that kind of go through the clutch fork. I've never done this before, so just bear with me. We're kind of learning as we go here. The old bell housing, this is the internal setup. I had to pry off that little it's like a rubber piece for your crankshaft position sensor. I'm going to reuse it on the new to me bell housing, but here's the old one. I believe it was 9 volts that holds the bell housing onto the transmission. So I'm going to show you guys. There's the transmission. I have everything bagged and tagged here, so I'd like to find so yeah, internal bell housing bolts. They are a 13 millimeter. I have everything labeled, the bolt sizes, so when I go back, there's no trying to hunt and search for the tools. I know exactly what to reach for when the time comes. But anyway, I'm going to lay this on the table here. I'm going to show you guys what we're working with here. See, this is the old retaining plate that I need to remove to put the new one on that has the sleeve for the input shaft. So we'll get that thing off. You can see the insides, especially my bell housing, just completely filthy. But we're gonna get this off. We're gonna slide the new bearing retaining plate on, and so I haven't removed these yet, so I don't know what size those are. If I had to guess, they look kind of like a 12. Okay, so I just now attached the Throwout bearing to the clutch fork, and it's actually not that bad. These little springs on the side, you got two of them. They're like circular, then you have a little hook. The hook part, actually, you can see, goes in right there, and it falls into that little detent. That's what locks it in. But my springs were kind of bowed in like this, so I took a pair of just needle nose, and I got, I kind of grabbed one end and flared both of them back out so they would match like the width of these slots. Once I had them flared back out, I just started this hook underneath this first, and once I got the hook started on each end, I just kind of used the circular part as a pivot. So I pushed it in, and it literally just snapped. Like the tension of it when you're pushing and kind of rolling it in place sets it in. So we have that going for us now. We have another fun. All the little springs and clips are going to be frustrating, but I'm gonna show you the orientation real quick before I forget myself. Is these slots right here, you want them facing the slave cylinder, and that's what's going to push on this. And see, just everything's going to work in unison here. But this right here is going to be a frustrating pup, because this is what spreads underneath the that little pivot ball right there. So I might want to put some grease on that first, and then try to get this started, because this round part is actually going to sit on the clutch fork, if I can actually hold the camera right for once. But yeah, it's going to sit like this. This will be underneath on the clutch pivot ball, and this round part will sit on top of your clutch fork. But let's put some grease on that first. You can see I have it greased up. Kind of reminds me of a grenade pin, but it literally, I started it from this corner, pushed it in, snapped right into place. Wasn't too bad. So now I need to get this retaining plate on, and this whole assembly is going to slide over it. Okay, so those bolts are a 12mm. You can see, disgusting. But this apparently has a gasket on it. So what I'm going to do is take the top bolts out first. So I think once you remove the two bottom ones down here, or the bottom three maybe, fluid will actually leak. So I'm going to try to start up top, be quick about it, get this plate off, run whatever bolts that the fluid is leaking from, because I have ATF in this thing. If you guys haven't ran ATF in your AX-15 yet, you're missing out. This thing shifts like a dream, and this transmission is original with 270-some thousand miles on it, so I swear by it. But let's try to quickly get this thing off. Like I said, there's a gasket that keeps the fluid inside the transmission from leaking out into the bell housing. So hopefully I don't have a new gasket, but if I can take this off gently enough without ripping it, I can probably reuse it. If not, I'm just going to resort to RTV. But let's go ahead and get this off real quick. Okay, so just a heads up, it's the very bottom bolt. I backed it out, started leaking transmission fluid everywhere. This thing's kind of, just from age, it's kind of sealed on there, so I ran that bottom bolt up a little bit. I'm going to take a flathead and see if I can't just gently work this retaining plate off, because she's sealed on there pretty good. Okay, so matter of fact, it is RTV. It's already on this old retaining plate. You can see it's still on there. I want to clean that up some more. Then I want to put a small bead of RTV on the new retainer plate and torque everything down. You can see the transmission fluid that's leaking down from this bottom bolt. I just ran it back in for the time being. We'll just top this thing back off with the ATF. No big deal. So just a heads up. That way you guys can kind of prepare yourself a little bit before making a big mess like I did. But yeah, so far so good. So I got me a bead of RTV around this bearing retainer plate. So what I'm going to do is actually get one bolt started on the bottom from this pile, right here, and then I'm gonna hurry and remove that one and try to put this plate on real quick and fast. Okay, so that method worked out pretty good. I just had that one bolt started on the bottom and back the one that was in the transmission out, and then because you can kind of guide this all up on the input shaft with that retaining plate, so you can have, you know, the backing plate sitting right here. As you back that off, then slide it in. I started it, lost a little bit of fluid, but you know, nothing insane. You can see the RTV pushed out, so should be nice and sealed up. Now I can try to manhandle the bell housing on. I got the bell housing in, but I had to take the clutch fork and throwout bearing off to get access to this bolt, and this one over here beside the pivot ball because it was in the way. So now I'm gonna slide this back on. Get that to sit in place, and here's your retaining clip. I'll show you guys how to put that on real quick. Hold on, let me turn the flash on. Oops, there we go. So I started it from like this angle right here, right in there. Push it on the bottom first. Let's see. Maybe this in a video or not. Okay, it's on the pivot ball now. Now to get it on the retainer. And now I'm gonna make sure it's locked and pull on it. Okay. Okay. Let's see up top. I'm just double checking to make sure that retainer clip's in place, because we don't want this thing sliding off. It looks kind of jank. Let's see. God, it's hard to get off. I think it's in place, honestly. Yeah. Enough force, it's able to come off, but I'm gonna redo it anyway. Yeah, it's on. I can see that both arms of the clip are around the pivot ball, so we're good. Got grease all over me, but there we go. Clutch fork and throwout bearings on, retaining clips on. These were 13 millimeters. Got them all torqued down, done in a star pattern. And I torqued them by hand, so it's ready to get this thing slid up into the clutch now. But yes, it is now officially converted to an external slave cylinder now. Okay, we're trying to set the transmission back in place. As you can see, I'm using motorcycle jack on the transfer case side, and then this transmission jack, which actually just broke on us. On the transmission, the little jack screw, it's broke, it's stripped out, so it will not come down. So hopefully once we get this bolted up, undo the strap, we can get that thing loosened up. But what we're fighting with now is the dowel pins in the bell housing, and we have dowel pins in the engine block. So he's taking a punch and knocking the other side out. Then I'm going to come over and do this side, because that's not going to work. But overall, everything looks like it's going to line up regardless here. As you can see, just got to get these dowels out, slide up our monstrosity of jacks, and then we'll be able to get this thing in and start bolting up our bell housing bolts. Oh, one thing I need to do before I forget, the crankshaft position sensor. I'm gonna go ahead and get it started before I forget, so don't forget that. Okay, so your crankshaft position sensor bolts are an 11mm. You have this little rubber boot. Let me see if I can capture it. The little grommet, you have to snap that in first, and then your entire like bracket and crank sensor will slide into it. So I tried putting it all in together as a whole assembly and it didn't work. You got to do it one at a time. So grommet goes in first. So now I was taking my 11mm. I'm just gonna tighten these up. There we go. To watch out with this DeWalt. This thing can snap bolts. So I try to be gentle with it, but there you go. There's the crankshaft position sensor. Just watch out with this harness. Make sure it doesn't get jammed up in this during reinstallation of the transmission. Okay, so with the dowels punched out, the hardest part of this entire job is trying to get the transmission back in. So that means trying to get your input shaft aligned up right. And then I'll show you guys. I had one long screwdriver through, this is where the dowel used to be, because there's a little sleeve. Well, the dowel that was in the bell housing, that's the one I punched out, but you still have the dowel in the block. So I ran this inside that dowel to help kind of line it up and keep the bolt holes all lined. And then we got the other side lined up. You can see I got one bolt up there started, and then all of these, the top one up there, those top two ones, they're 15s. These like in the middle, you got one directly across like near the starter. These are 16s and these are 18s, and they have a bolt and a nut. Oh, and it's starting to storm too, by the way, so I'm not complaining because it was starting to get really hot and humid, and now it feels pretty good. So I'm going to put the shifter bracket bolts in. I'm going to leave this drive shaft out for now because I'm going to make sure we get all this bled and make sure everything's working right, because I don't want to go through the trouble of putting everything back together like I did last time just to take it all back apart. So I'm going to leave some things undone. I'm going to hook up the crank sensor. I'm going to leave the exhaust unhooked for now. But I am going to get the shifter started. And then you have your electrical connector here for your speed sensor, and I guess your reverse solenoid for your reverse lights when you go into reverse. And then you have this vent tube up there, and this big 4-block port for your vacuum lines, because everything on this Jeep 4-wheel drive related is vacuum actuated. And of course drive shaft's just there flopping around, but hey, the hard part's done. It's officially, well, I wouldn't say officially because I don't have the slave cylinder in it yet. I have to source bolts or studs or something. The bell housing didn't come with anything, and my new slave cylinder didn't come with bolts, so what the heck. So, well, good news is my clutch fork is still, that retaining clip is doing its job, because if this was to fall out, I'd be screwed and have to drop the transmission again. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Just gonna button up the small stuff real quick. Okay, so slave cylinder didn't come with bolts, but I found two like metric size ones. I should have actually just measured how long they were. They're about 2 inches long, but they work perfectly. So the slave cylinder's in right now. Got the shifter assembly in, all the vacuum lines, wiring connectors, so I can jack this thing up, put the skid plate back on. Reason I went ahead and put that on is because you know, your front drive shaft's going to be in the way. It just gives you way more room to work. I haven't uncapped it yet, but I got to figure out an adapter for this stainless steel clutch line to work with this once I pull this plug out, but we'll knock that out later. Okay guys, so quick update, small hiccup in the process. This I was told that the 1995 Cherokee slave cylinder for like the 4.0, you know, the XJ Jeeps would work because the I'll show you. Apparently on some of them, this is stuff I've read on the forums, so you know, it's one of those things you can't believe everything you read on the internet. But I'll show you where this little plug right here goes. Apparently some of them were threaded, so you can thread in like a union fitting, and then I could thread in my stainless steel clutch line. That's what I was banking on. But turns out, no, you have to have a special fitting and an O-ring. So it's like a 3AN to whatever the clutch fitting is. Kind of looks like the same one that goes into the master cylinder, but it's different because I had an extra master cylinder fitting with the O-ring, and it's like a nipple that slides in. Apparently the slave cylinder one's just slightly different and it won't work. So I just went ahead and bought a stock 1995 Jeep YJ slave cylinder and master cylinder combination. They're all together. It's all plastic, which sucks, and it's a hard plastic line. It comes together as an assembly, and it's supposed to be pre-bled because apparently trying to bleed that setup is very difficult. So when I get in the slave and master cylinder combination, I should be able to drop it in, fill it up, you know, bleed it by pumping the clutch a couple times, and we should be good to go. But in the meantime, I went ahead and bolted up my exhaust. It was 2 14mm bolts and 2 14mm nuts. And my setup, like I said, mine's one whole unit. I don't have a mid-pop section, so mine's just from the header all the way back pretty much. So it's hard with mine because I have to fight with all the hangers and maneuver the exhaust as one whole assembly. Still haven't hooked up the drive shafts. There's really no point until I know for a fact. I shouldn't even really bolted up the exhaust yet because I still need to get the master and slave put together and bleed it, make sure I do have a clutch, because if it doesn't work, then I have to take the transmission back out. So I don't have a skid plate on. I just have it supported right now by a jack. But yeah, pretty much, I mean, to get everything back together, like if the slave and master worked and I do have a working transmission, basically like hydraulics, I just need to put the skid plate back on, bolt up the drive shafts, and finish up the shifter assemblies, and should be good to go. Hopefully we have a clutch. But that's the progress right now. Like I said, small hiccup. So if you guys are doing the swap, just go ahead and get the factory 1995 or 94, because you know those years of the YJ were factory external slave cylinders anyway. So just go ahead and get the factory stuff. You know it's going to work regardless. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, I'll update you guys when it arrives. I ordered it on Amazon, so it'll be a couple days before I get it. I don't know what happened to Amazon Prime. You know, used to it was 2-day shipping. Now it's like a week. So if you can find it somewhere else cheaper, like Rock Auto, you're more likely I just go that route because Amazon's just not what it used to be. Okay, so I got two packages today. I got my master and slave cylinder combination package, and then Dead Jeep, because you know, in their ad they described that the item I was buying, the external slave cylinder bell housing, was going to come with Throwout bearing. So I messaged them and said, hey, it didn't come with one, even though I was going to use a brand new one. They sent me this. This is more of a middle finger than anything, honestly. Yeah, even if this came with the kit and I was desperate, I wouldn't use this. So I don't know if that was them trying to be nice or like a middle finger. Anyway, oh well, I have a brand new one in it anyway, and plus my Jeep would have sat for another week if I was relying on their Throwout bearing. But anyway, here's the master cylinder and slave cylinder combination. I'm gonna show you guys kind of how this installs real quick. There's these little white tabs that kind of hold the plunger back from the clutch fork. They say you want to tighten this, and then when you start bleeding the clutch, these will actually snap, and once they do, you can kind of just pluck them out. But yeah, it's a whole assembly. It's supposed to be pre-bled because this line is hooked up to both of them, so you have to kind of like finagle the slave cylinder down from the engine bay to get it lined up. But get everything bolted up. Looky there. Just happened to notice the socket on the exhaust. You can see when you get in a hurry trying to get things together, you tend to do things like that. But yeah, let's go ahead and put some fluid in it, pump the clutch, and see if we have a clutch now. Okay, so I was trying to break this cap free. It was super tight, but I guess where this thing's pre-bled, it, you know, I mean, it makes sense that it's full of brake fluid, so they had it airtight, I guess for shipping purposes. But anyway, I pushed the clutch, and you know, of course, those little white things, they broke. I went ahead and plucked them out. But yeah, those are gone, and we have a clutch. It was immediately firm. So now I'm gonna put everything back together, my shifter, skid plate, all that fun stuff, and drive it and see if we have a clutch. Okay, we got everything back together. Skid plates on, front and rear drive shafts are in. I got the shifter assembly, shifter boot, shift knobs, all that fun stuff in place. Got the battery tightened up, so just going through the gears. I want to feel the clutch. Oh yeah, clutch feels good. Haven't felt a clutch in this Jeep in 2 months. So I'm gonna shut the hood, start it up, just move it back and forth, see how she's gonna do, and hey, maybe I have the Jeep back together. Let's see. The Jeep is on her maiden voyage. So far everything seems to be shifting good. The clutch engagement point's a little bit different between the internal and external slave cylinders. Or maybe it's just because I'm not used to driving the Jeep. It's been about 2 months and I've been in the lots of speed, and the clutch in that car is, you know, you can definitely tell what engagement point is. Like, it grabs and it feels good. Not that this feels bad, but they're different. But I think the difference is between the internal and external slave cylinders. This one feels just a little more vague, I guess. The previous setup, before it completely went out, it had a really good engagement point. It's just nice and firm and solid. The throwout bearing seems to be making a little bit of noise. Maybe that's normal, I don't know. I'm hoping over time driving it, that sound will subside. It's a slight little like whine, but when you press the clutch in, it's fine. But when you sit in idle, so it could be just the throwout bearing slightly resting on the clutch fingers. I don't know, but all I can do is just drive it, see if it gets better, see if it gets worse. Hopefully it lasts, because I'm sick of dropping the transmission on this Jeep. But I'm in 5th gear cruising right now. Downshift the 4th. I mean, it shifts great. Clutch feels good. I'm just happy to have this thing back together. So I guess I'm going to end this video here. We have a mobile Jeep, and I just want to thank you guys who stuck around and watched the whole video. If you guys are contemplating doing this swap on your internal slave cylinder AX-15, or even if you have an AX-5 in your 4-cylinder Jeep, highly recommend swapping to external, because it's actually fairly easy. You have to drop the transmission either way to replace the internal slave cylinder, so why not just go ahead, get the bell housing, clutch fork spring. The pivot ball will usually come with the bell housing itself, and then your throwout bearing of choice, and then you have to run like in my case, I ran a 1995 YJ, you know, for the X-15. It's a master and slave cylinder combination. It's pre-bled. I put it on, didn't even have to bleed it. I mean, I just hooked it up and I had a clutch. So that was unique. But I highly recommend just doing external slave cylinder swap. But yeah, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.